Hello, Buckeye Nation. We're getting close, real close to the game that we've all been waiting for. Let's talk. Is it possible for Ohio State to beat Georgia? Will they be able to take advantage of the second chance that they've been given? We'll get into that and more after the intro. Welcome to Buckeye Football Fangirl. If this is your first time here, my name is Lisa, and I'm the gal behind this channel. Boy, have we been through an emotional roller coaster this season. I am so thankful for all of you who tuned into these videos and that the ride isn't quite over for all of us crazy fans. I'm nervous heading into this next week, knowing that at the end of it will be a game of monumental proportions. One that will either kick 2023 off on the right foot or on the wrong foot. How are you all feeling about the game coming up? Are you guys as nervous as I am? Go ahead, drop me a comment below and let me know. I listened to lots of people talking about this matchup and have read tons of articles tearing apart the strengths and the weaknesses of each team. And I have to conclude that while it might seem slim, I do think that there is a path where Ohio State wins this game. Overall, the general consensus seems to be that Ohio State has the better offense, but Georgia has the better team. While I think that's probably true, let's talk about a few cracks that are in Georgia's foundation that Ohio State might be able to take advantage of. A lot of people have been pointing to the fact that LSU had 502 passing yards during that SEC championship game, and they say that that shows that Georgia does have a weakness that can be exploited by Ohio State's strength, which is its passing game. In addition, Georgia also played an extremely close game this season against Missouri and needed a late game rally to pull ahead for the win. This season, Georgia has looked solid. However, I think that these two things show that beating these reigning champs is possible. So, am I saying there's a chance? I definitely think so. I think that if the Buckeyes can do 4 things, they stand a chance. This sounds super simple, but the execution of them against Georgia will be a challenge. 1, they need to play disciplined football and avoid dumb penalties. 2, they need to limit big explosive plays. 3, they need to pass a heck of a lot. And 4, they need to score a heck of a lot too. And when they score, they will need touchdowns. They can't just settle for field goals. If Ohio State can run up the score without shooting themselves in the foot, that's the challenge. That's their best chance to win. And we know this team can do that, but it is going to be a mighty tough battle against Georgia's stout defense. Let's take a quick look at who we are facing on this Georgia team. And we'll start with their head coach, Kirby Smart. Head coach Kirby Smart has been slowly but steadily elevating the Georgia football program since he was named head coach in December of 2015. Kirby Smart was a 4-year letterman who played defensive back for Georgia, and his deep Georgia football roots, the success that he found as a defensive coordinator later on, and a decade that he spent learning underneath Nick Saban have all contributed to his fit within the Bulldog football program. Within his college coaching career, Smart has spent time at Valdosta State, Florida State, LSU, and Alabama before accepting the head coach position at Georgia. And most notably among those is probably the 8 years that he spent as the defensive coordinator at Alabama. At Alabama, Smart's defenses were ranked in the top 7 nationally for the least points allowed per game every single year. It's also worth noting that in 2014, it was Smart who was the defensive coordinator at Alabama when Ohio State was able to beat Bama on their way to winning the Natty that year. It has taken Smart several years to get Georgia to where they are now, the reigning national champions who are predicted to win it all again this year. However, before winning the Natty last year, Georgia fans had some major questions about his competence as a head coach, and they were comparing him to coaching flops of the past. And I gotta be honest, that sounds a lot like another head coach that we all know. But moving on, one thing that Bulldog fans were upset about was that Smart let a very talented quarterback slip through his fingers and find his way to Ohio State. And as a result, us Buckeye fans had 2 awesome years of watching Justin Fields set the bar extremely high and live out the definition of grit and toughness for a quarterback. However, thanks to his recent success, some people have already started handing Smart the title of the next Nick Saban. But I think it helps to remember that at this exact time a year ago, Bulldog fans were not so high on him. In fact, Smart was battling a very negative critique of his performance as head coach because Georgia was fresh off of a 24-41 loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game. That score is not too far off from the painfully recent 45-23 loss that I still honestly don't want to talk about. We all know how Georgia's story ended though, as they got a chance to avenge their loss and beat Alabama for their first national championship title since 1980. All this to say that Kirby Smart has flipped the entire narrative of his coaching career with that national championship win last year. All right, let's talk a little bit now about the Heisman Trophy winner and Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett. Bennett is a pass-first quarterback who has definitely been helped by playing behind one of the best offensive lines in the country. He rarely uses his legs to run the ball, but he runs just enough to keep defenses on their toes. Bennett originally was a walk-on at Georgia before deciding to transfer to Jones County Junior College after Justin Fields committed to Georgia. And then when Fields transferred to Ohio State, Bennett transferred back to Georgia. Apparently, Bennett has been nicknamed the Mailman due to wearing a U.S. mail hat to give people a way to remember him at the various showcases and competitions that he attended while in high school. And after leading the Bulldogs to the Natty last year, you can bet that there were a lot of cheesy puns thrown around about him delivering. Looking at the passing game, Georgia leans heavily on their tight ends. Tight end Brock Bowers is the leading receiver on the team, and Darnell Washington, who is also a tight end, gets a lot of game time action. Ladd McConkey is a go-to wide receiver on the team with the second highest amount of receiving yards, and running back Kenny McIntosh is utilized in the pass game a lot too, and he finishes with the third highest amount of receiving yards. On the defensive side of the ball, Georgia's got some monsters. Jalen Carter is a defensive tackle who is a projected top 5 pick in the NFL draft this year, and he has been majorly disruptive to offenses this year. He's an extremely smart and athletic player and is known for bringing inside pressure. He leads the team in forced fumbles and is in a 3-way tie for the most sacks. Also, he was voted unanimous All-American this year. Safety Malachi Starks, safety Christopher Smith, and quarterback Keely Ringo are 3 other defensive players to know, and they have a combined 7 interceptions between the 3 of them. Stroud and Ringo actually know each other pretty well, as they were both big-name recruits in the same recruiting cycle. And Ringo actually tried to talk Stroud into going to Georgia. The Georgia defense is going to give the Buckeye offense a run for their money. It's going to be a tough, physical game on New Year's Eve, and I know Ohio State is going to have to play the game of their lives if they want to advance to the next round of the playoffs. Some people are comparing this Ohio State team to the 2014 team that lost to Virginia Tech but then went on to win the national title. Some others are comparing them to the 2017 Alabama team, who also got into the playoff through the back door after sitting at home during the SEC championship game that year, and then went on to win it all. There are a lot of comparisons that you can make to this year's Ohio State team and teams that have won the national championship other years, but the truth of it is that everything is still unwritten. Now, the Buckeyes could come out and put a beatdown on Georgia and then go on to avenge the loss to TTUN in the title game and make all of our dreams come true. That would be the fairy tale ending that all of us are wanting. But they could also come out and lay a big fat goose egg on the field on New Year's Eve. Definitely not what I want to see, but it is a possibility. They could also beat Georgia and then go on to get whooped by TTUN again, which may be the most humiliating thing that I can possibly think of, and it actually hurts to verbalize. There are so many different ways that these playoff games can go, and as much as we may like drawing comparisons between previous scenarios, the past is not indicative of the future. Ohio State has been given a gift of even being in the playoff picture, and I would love to see them feed off of that underdog energy to pull out the best play that we have seen all season when they need it the most. I want to see them dismantle the reigning champs first and then flip the script and beat TTUN to smithereens. That outcome would make me the happiest fangirl in the world. But I have already decided no matter what the outcome is, even if they get outplayed in the Peach Bowl, I am going to enjoy this playoff run because it looked like it wouldn't happen for one bleak week after that TTUN loss. And I am grateful beyond words that they are not playing in a meaningless bowl game this year. I am so thankful that we get a minimum one more chance to see players who, while they haven't officially declared yet, are thought to be heading to the draft. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this game that we have coming up against Georgia on New Year's Eve. Drop me a comment below about what you think will happen. I hope everyone has a very happy holiday season and that you're able to make some time for a moment of joy in the midst of all of the hustle and bustle this time of year brings with it. And whether you are with family, friends, or celebrating solo, I wish you health and happiness as we are about to close out this year and head into a new one. I am eternally grateful for you all, and I am looking forward to cheering these Buckeyes on together on New Year's Eve. Let's enjoy this one. And with that, I'll see you on the other side of the game. Oh,